Welcome to Focus on Liberia. Ansony Sieh hosting. This is the hour of politics. Of course, here at Focus on Liberia, we are about the truth, and the truth only, as we educate and elevate and promote all things our dear country, Liberia. Welcome to yet another edition of the Hour of Politics here at Focus on Liberia. Today's topic, we are demanding justice for student activist Christopher Walter Sisuli Sivili. This student and member of the Student Unification Party, that's SUP, was brutalized mercilessly by loyalists of the CDC George Weah government. This behavior of heartlessness and mindlessness and brainlessness exhibited and meted against this young man, we do hereby condemn it in the highest terms, and we are demanding justice for student Christopher Sisuli. We are not surprised, but we are disturbed that in the 21st century, we are seeing this into this Liberia that has seen, witnessed, experienced violence at the highest level. Something that we continue to deal with today, and we have not even gotten out of the shackles of the violence that we have experienced as a country and as a people. For some of our brothers and sisters among us to think that violence is any solution, it is troubling, and troubling indeed. So how did this all start? We are in troubled times, fellow Liberians. The government of President George Weah, like we know it to be, is having unprecedented challenges. The economy is challenged beyond measures. Poverty is on the faces of Liberians. In their overwhelming majority, the masses are suffering the brunt of it all. The economic conditions, their living conditions, have completely deteriorated. And the story is something that we all know. Finding daily meals in Liberia is a challenge. Transportation in Liberia is a challenge. The government of the day that is responsible to provide effective leadership that will alleviate or minimize these conditions, these harsh economic conditions faced by the citizens they were elected to serve. Instead of serving them, this government has decided to become nothing but terror that offers nothing but suffering and poverty for our people. And so like many Liberians, the students too have been facing the brunt of it all. The Student Unification Party, given what we know it to be historically as an institution at the University of Liberia that has been so conscious in speaking out against the ills, the economic condition of the masses' children, decided to do what they always done, to highlight the conditions that Liberians are facing, the conditions that students are facing. All they try to do, I guarantee, honor our laws. We are in a democracy. We are in the 21st century. Protest in a democracy is an expression of dissent. It is the means through which citizens gather as a group to communicate to their government the conditions that they are experiencing. It is the means that citizens use to inform the government and register their disapproval, their dissatisfaction, and remind the government of its responsibility to the citizens and the nation, and also the contract that the government signed with the people when the people elected that particular government. Protest is guaranteed honoring our laws. It's a constitutional right of every citizen to be able to gather and protest. That is a right. It's a constitutional right that cannot be curtailed, neither be taken away. And a responsible government will allow citizens to protest peacefully. The protest was peaceful. So, for us to have seen the CDC government to not hesitate, other than to continue on this tactic of terrorizing protesters, counter-protesting. I mean, when was the last time in our nation's history, and in the history of protests in the world, have we seen counter-protest? We are saying this for the first time in our country under a CDC George Weah administration. And if you think about the history of the political institution, they came to power today because protest was one of the means that they used to identify with the suffering people of Liberia. So protests were one of those things that they used to their advantage. It was a right that they exercised when they were in opposition. There was no counter-protest against the CDC as an opposition political party. So the party that was given this opportunity to exercise its right in a democracy, to protest, to express dissent, to be seen today resisting protest and counter-protesting as a government speaks volumes. And this should remind Liberians that we are on a perilous path with this behavior that continues to come from the CDC government. So given the harsh economic conditions in the country, the Student Unification Party decided that, well, we will protest on July 26th day. The president is dancing when we have serious economic conditions in the country. So we are demanding that the president and the CDC government face this country. This is not the first time Studa, not Studa, but Sieh has called for a protest on Independence Day to register its dissatisfaction with the economic conditions in the country, to register its dissatisfaction with the way the CDC is governing the country, to register its disapproval against President Weah for the way he's leading our country. So they organized this protest named Fix the Country. And this was actually a peaceful protest. From what we learned, which has always been the case with Sieh, they will always gather at the University of Liberia campus. And then they would take the street to protest peacefully. But this CDC government organized its auxiliary group that it organized some time ago called CDC COP to counter protest. They printed t-shirts, and on the t-shirts they have "Weah is fixing the country," all because the students have also printed t-shirts to say "Fix the country." So CDC decided to counter protest, and the t-shirts that they printed, they put the president of Liberia name on it. "Weah is fixing the country." Now, the Student Unification Party got information that CDC through it, or the government of Liberia through its auxiliary group called CDC COP, had decided to counter protest. And early in the morning, the CDC government auxiliary group was the first. They arrived at the University of Liberia to prevent the student, Sieh, I don't know why I continue to say student, to prevent Sieh, Student Unification Party, from gathering at the University of Liberia to carry on their planned protest. They have seized all the entrances to the University of Liberia. The CDC government seized the entrances to the University of Liberia main campus. This is a government acting. It is not acting through security forces. It is acting through talks that it has purposely organized to counter protest and to discourage and intimidate Liberian citizens from exercising their right to register any dissent in the country about the conditions that they are experiencing in the country. Have we now seen enough? Don't we have more than reasons to register dissent through protests in the country? Haven't we heard about auditors being killed mysteriously and left in the streets of Monrovia? Haven't we heard about 3 missing boys in the country? Have we not heard about corruption in the country in nearly every ministry and agency from the office of the president? Corruption speaks volume. Down to the judiciary branch of government and also the legislative branch of government. Corruption is all over the place. That is more than enough reason for the citizens of Liberia to register their dissent through a protest. How much more the economic conditions that people are facing every day, the higher prices of basic commodities, transportation, something that was not the case just a few years ago before the CDC could take office. And this CDC government will now allow any Liberian or any group of Liberians to gather and protest peacefully. They will resist. And they have adopted this strategy, the tactic of terror, under the disguise of counter-protesting. This is sickening to the core. So, Sieh got information that the CDC organized counter-protest has seized the campuses of the University of Liberia. And these students, being peaceful, decided, well, we don't want confrontation. Since they have occupied the University of Liberia like an occupying force, can you believe this? We are going to go somewhere else to protest. So they decided to go to the American embassy to protest. And so they started their protest there because they didn't want any confrontation. When the CDC government, through its talks, organized purposefully to discourage, to intimidate, to terrorize protesters, decided to march to the United States Embassy. They don't have brains. And right before the U.S. Embassy, when these people gather upon the instruction of the chief organizer of this so-called CDC COP, Jefferson Koji. Koji fingerprint is on this. They have gathered, they arrived at the U.S. Embassy. Few minutes after they arrived and saw Sue protesting peacefully, the children just had their t-shirts and placards. They were just in few numbers. They were fewer in number. CDC government through a talks, name and star CDC COP, pick up stones right in front of United States Embassy and started throwing stones at the peaceful students who were protesting peacefully. They were not confronting the CDC government in no shape, in no manner, and in no form. Armless, defenseless, poor students felt the need on the 26th of July, Liberia's Independence Day, to register that our country is not being governed properly. This country needs fixing. And of course, the country does need fixing. The students were denied access to their own campus, something that they have right to as citizens and students in the country. They were denied access by its own government, all because they have just 3-letter words: fix the country. That was their crime. And they had no right as citizens of the country to utter those words on their own campus. The CDC prevented that, and that was not enough for the George Weah government. The George Weah government will use a so-called CDC COP to chase the students, to go after them right before the United States Embassy, and started throwing stones at them. And when the stone throwing got serious, when they were outnumbered, they decided to run. And then CDC government, through its so-called CDC COP, pursued these students, started beating them. And that was when they were able to capture, like the rebels during those days would capture a poor citizen or anybody accused of being associated with a particular tribe or may have worked in government. They captured the student. Just like Prince Johnson have captured President Doe, they captured the student leader. And they started beating him. They took his trousers upon him, just like Prince Johnson, the godfather of President Weah today, the godfather of the CDC today, a member of the First Order, is now a friend of this CDC government, all because of power. And they are using the Prince Johnson tactics. They are using the very tactics displayed and carry on and exhibited by former rebel leaders. They are reminding us of our ugly past. They will beat him. They will naked him. They beat him everywhere. They knock him in every place. In his eyes, in his mouth, in his nose, in his ears, on his body. They brutalized. They humiliated. They destroyed the spirit of the young and promising citizen of our country. All because he uttered 3 words: face the country. And I will say, yeah, yes, face the damn country. And that is why somebody cannot say, as a citizen, and a government will go after. I mean, these students, what threat do they constitute? Do they pose to the gigantic government that controls all the security forces in the country? For Christ says these students are right before the U.S. Embassy. And you will go and pursue them right before the eyes of the greatest democracy on earth. In Washington, D.C., where the White House is, the building that houses the President of the United States, there is protest going on nearly every day at the White House. These students were not even at the executive mansion. They were denied access to their own campus. They did not even go to the executive mansion. They did not go to any government ministry and agency. They went to a foreign government embassy. And yet they were pursued. In America, go to the White House. I went there to protest. There's protests going on every day. Protests going on nearly every day at the U.S. Capitol. Yet America remains the greatest democracy on earth because it allows dissent, because it permits and recognizes the rights of citizens to protest, to express themselves. The CDC government is doing this under the disguise that is protecting the peace. How dare you say you're protecting peace when you cannot give your citizens peace by terrorizing them? So, folks, we will show you a video. CDC government uses intimidation tactics. It started this very long time ago, and it will not stop. The CDC government has been in the habit of terrorizing fellow citizens, all because they have political disagreement. This government terrorized Justina Taylor. This government intimidated, threatened Martin Colley, and Martin Colley have to run away from Liberia. This particular CDC government also terrorized, threatened the life of journalist Julius T. Jason. He had to flee Liberia. I will give you a name. The intimidation tactics being used by this government and terrorizing Liberians is too much now. The CDC government also used the court system and terrorized, humiliated an opposition political leader in the name of Alexander Belende Cummings. The CDC government also used the very court or the legislature, terrorized, intimidated Cabinet Janet, and they impeached him. The CDC government intimidated, terrorized psychologically Axel W. Jackson Jr. They denied him passport for many months. He has cried and complained for his passport. They will not issue him a Liberian passport because of political disagreement. The CDC government has been terrorizing Yeke Koluba, a sitting lawmaker. At some point, Yeke Koluba family was prevented from leaving the country. The CDC government went as far as seizing the baby food of Yeke's child. I think Yeke had twins, I believe. Baby formula was seized by this government. Yeke and his family were denied. Yeke continued to be terrorized nearly every day. That is the reason responsible for his unorthodox outbursts and anger against this government. This CDC government terrorized and intimidated Ansony just because he wrote a book and he quoted something from the president. That was enough for the CDC to come with a tactic again. It was all because Liberians have their eyes on them, for which Ansony is probably alive today. The CDC government terrorized, flogged Emmanuel Service. He was flogged by security forces assigned with the president of Liberia. Have you forgotten when Emmanuel Service was humiliated, flogged, and brutalized by President Weah's personal security? Henry Pedro Costa was chased outside of Liberia on grounds of a laissez-passer. A Liberian citizen was chased outside of his own country. If he had not escaped, probably they would have harmed him, just as they had intended to do similar to Ansony. Mo Ali was intimidated and aroused psychologically after they booted him out of government, just because as a Facebook post, they went after him. But at that time, the opposition was together. And so Mo Ali got a little bit of protection. This CDC government has been terrorizing protesters. They have been using the police, tear gassing protesters, beating protesters, arresting protesters, and throwing them behind bars. The records are here, and you all know it. This government will not stop. So we demand justice for student activist Christopher Waters Sisuli. We demand justice for him now. I will play the video for you to see for yourselves, fellow Liberians. And after that, I will be asking a few questions and providing analytical answers for you. This thing is serious. This is enough. Who are we as a people? When will we stand off? When will we stand up to put an end to what is shared barbarism, wickedness, and terror in our country, coming from a certain government charged with the constitutional responsibility to protect lives and property? And this is the government that is bent on taking away lives, brutalizing lives, and destroying lives, to the point that they are doing it to students. Have you forgotten some time ago when grade school students, when their teachers have laid down chalks at that time, the grade school student got in the streets because the teachers have left the classrooms, and they were asking the government to pay their teachers, grade school students. The Liberian government, the CDC government, through its security forces, the police, you tear gas on those babies, and they were taken to hospital. Have you forgotten that? We have the videos in our possession as we speak. So this is a pattern of terror coming from a certain government against its own citizen, that it has soon off to protect. When will this end? When will this be too much for you as a citizen before you do something about this? And I will tell you why other nations have done. When they came close to terror from their government, they stood up. Who are we, by the way? I don't recognize us anymore. I don't even recognize our leaders anymore. Really. Indeed, we are a peculiar people. This is despicable to the core. But let us roll in a video for you to see for yourself.
So I'm trying to see if I can get a bento back. So we are.
So as you can see, they are pursuing the students, looking for them everywhere.
So one of the soup guy.
Those are loyalists to the CDC government.
Oh, la vie. Si on nous dit pas, tu as
As you can see, the naked him right there. Poor student being naked upon the instruction of the CDC government.
So one of them, the guy from the Sudan Unification Party, the attack. Yeah, but he's a journalist. Guy's a journalist. Excuse me, he's a journalist. Forget about him. Go, please. The man a journalist. Go. Come here, take a picture. So what's your name, my brother? David B. Sieh. From which group are you? Okay. All right. So you just heard.
The guys are betrayal. The guys took money from the loan. They took money from the
Go up. What you said? They took money from who?
Go up. Protest. So they were very selective and they were very biased in their approach and their strategy. So they cannot be selective. Don't forget to make a movement come out. So many them do. We also confront them. So we have to get on a shot. And get on a shot. We have to protest here today. Let's carry.
So, James, I'll be fuck all.
Water Sisuli. Water
Sisuli.
Yeah.
Il parle en soupe?
Yeah, mais si on me marche. Hey, don't be before you die. Don't be. Hey.
Don't go there.
Don't beat him.
Hey, hold on, we have look in front of you, man. Pay attention. So, he's one of these secrets. Right in front of the American embassy. This is what we see. And we're trying to talk to the leader of the group, Ben Toba, but we have not seen him around since they started throwing stone. We saw him earlier on. This is happening right in front of the embassy of the United States. And when we talk about the lawlessness in Liberia, this is just an example. And we have few police officers here assigned at the embassy, and they have made no attempt to come to the rescue of this young man who has been handled by his colleague from the University of Liberia, a group. And here we are. We still have a police officer, and you can see the policeman there smiling. This officer is smiling there. He should be calling for a backup, but I see him smiling. And at this point, I don't know what he's going to do. He, after being treated, this is the group. They are calling themselves a member of Sieh, but earlier on we saw the banner is the Independent, and he's just being rescued by
folks. This is heartbreaking for me. It's hard to watch. You saw it for yourself. They were beating him, even though some of their friends there were pleading with them, don't beat him before he died. Stop. Don't beat him. But yet they won't stop because they have gotten their instructions to do everything to stop this protest, and that they should pursue members of the Student Unification Party and do whatever they can to prevent them from protesting. And so they acted upon instruction. And after they have brutalized this young man, this is what we saw. This is the young man. See him? This is Comrade Sisuli. Innocent young man. All he tried to do was to utter just few words. Fix the country. The CDC will organize a counter-protest, and after they have done this wickedness to him, here he is lying in pain and agony. All because he said, fix the country. The government of Joshua and the CDC don't want to hear the words, fix the country. Upon their instruction, a young man was brutalized in this manner in our country, and the citizens of Liberia are just sitting there and watching this man going through much pain and agony and humiliation. He was being brutalized. Who are we? That is the young man. This is the CDC government that you elected to serve you. And this is how it is serving you. And some people might be thinking, but why is this presenter saying these thugs and wicked young people acted upon the instruction of CDC? The CDC hid its hand. The government of Liberia hid its hand. They asked people to do for them that which they wanted to see. They wanted to see the students being stopped from protesting. And that even if it would mean that you brutalize them, you pursue them, do it. So this is young Sisuli. This is young Christopher. Innocent young man. Handsome looking. He has a bright future. He is your brother. He could be your brother. You have listened to me. You have a son like I do. He's your son. And your government has gone to work to brutalize him. What is harmful about this young man? He does not constitute the slightest threat to this government. He just tried to use his voice to express that things are not okay in this country. And indeed, things are not okay in the country. And those who may have had the question, how dare I say this is the government of Joshua and CDC doing? This is your proof. So when the students organized Fix the Country's protest on July 26th, the CDC government said, no, we're not going to allow any protest. We will counter-protest, and they printed their own T-shirts to counter-protest. Here is their T-shirt that they printed. CDC government. Where is facing the country? With 3 exclamation marks. They said, where is facing the country? So no one should protest. And you see the CDC COP symbol on that T-shirt, telling us where is facing the country. So why should you protest when where is facing the country? How dare you say face the country when where is facing the country? You are lying, and so we will stop you. You want more evidence? This is the leader of the CDC COP, Ben Believe Tuba Jr. And he wrote on his Facebook page informing the country, Liberian people, of the instruction that he has received from his bosses. He wrote, under special instructions from our supreme leader. Liberia now has supreme leader. Jefferson Tamakoji, we carry out attacks against U.S. students, SUP, this morning. Next time, we will use bullets. Next time, we will use bullets. So he is saying we got instructions from our supreme leader. Jefferson Koji is the chairman of CDC Youth League. He has been chairman of this CDC party for how many years now? Maybe 10 years. He's been Youth League. I mean, this guy has become a dictator. I mean, come on. This is Joshua Bolly. This is Joshua God's son, one of his political strategies. So they organized this thing. The printed t-shirts, where it's facing the country. They got instruction that makes sure these guys don't protest. And if it means that you brutalize them, so do it. They seized the campus of the University of Liberia. They didn't want the students to even gather there. So the student went to the U.S. Embassy. They will go after them. They were brutalized. That young comrade. And so, folks, we are demanding justice for Sisuli. We are demanding justice for Christopher. We are demanding justice, and we need justice right now. So may I ask you these questions? What do you want to see before you as a citizen can stand up for your country? Before you can stand up for a fellow citizen? Before you can stand up for what is right and just? Before you can stand against evil when you see it? Before you can stand against terror, bad government? What do you want to see? The death of auditors was not enough for you. The disappearance of the 3 missing boys, we call them, was not enough for you. Corruption in every government, not enough for you. The CDC government in District 15 terrorized Terra-Uri. It was like a war zone just because the CDC desperately needed a seat in District 15. The CDC toasted caskets as a government in the streets of Logan Town. This is true story. They chased, they terrorized citizens. CDC as a government were protesting with caskets. And they had on their CDC t-shirts when they were carrying casket. And they had the picture of Kennedy Terra-Uri on there, on the casket. What do you want to see? But unlike you, fellow Liberians, unlike you, leaders of Liberia, student leaders, human rights leaders, political leaders, our political leaders, the opposition political leaders, they are boilers, they are spineless, they don't stand up for their citizens. They get empty speeches. Some of their press conferences are meaningless. The CDC government has no respect, have no fear for them. It does whatever it pleases against any citizen in the country. They fold their hands. We just saw an election in Lofa County when the CDC did what it needed to do, and the CDC took that election, and the so-called Unity Party has nothing to do, nothing to say. A political leader came up with an empty press conference that were meaningless. And that's the end of the story. We are in trouble. But let me share something with you historically here. What this young man has experienced is enough for the citizens of Liberia to say enough is enough. What the young man has experienced is enough for Liberians to stand up because somebody is next. It happened to Emmanuel Savage. Liberians did not stand up for Emmanuel. The 3 missing boys, Liberians did not stand up for them. The auditors, we did not stand up for them. The EPS guy who was killed, Liberians did not stand up for their fellow citizens. And so it continues to this day. A poor student has been brutalized under the instruction of Jefferson Koji. an official of the CDC government, a leader of the CDC, and they did it in front of the United States Embassy, and the opposition of Liberia is nowhere. The citizens can't do anything for themselves. The political leaders are ballers. They can't do anything. This is a political giving. Where is Alexander Belinda Cummings? Who does he want to be president for? Liberians who are hurting right now? Today, I saw a dear sister, Levin Thompson. She went live to speak about it, and she was crying. And as I watched her sharing tears, telling us that this has refreshed her memory about what happened, that one of her family members was on the pole that got executed by Samuel Doe. You know, it brought back the memories, the troublesome memories that she lived with. And she was crying nonstop as she does her live podcasts. And I couldn't take it. I went on Sisuli's Facebook page, and I was looking at those promising pictures, some in which he's smiling. And you could see, you know, this young man, all he asking for better living condition in the country. He has no guns. He's living there in Monrovia. He's even struggling to find food daily. And this is a man who has been brutalized. And the government of Liberia is silent and promising a useless investigation. They promise us investigation in all the corruption cases. Zero. They promise us investigation in all the mysterious deaths. Zero. Princess Cooper is another story. Where are we going with this? Where are the opposition leaders? This is a political giving. Can the leader of the ANC organize a protest and call his partisan to stand up for this young man? They will not do it. And they don't want me to say that. Where are the leaders of the Student Unification Party? Where are those guys they call veterans? Where are they? What does it have to come to before they act? Where are the citizens of Liberia in Liberia? What do they want to see before they stand up? Where is Joseph Boaka, who is the presumed opposition leader? For the sake of argument, allow me to use that. Where is he? His political party was cheated in an election. He has absolutely nothing to say, to do. He's quiet in the country. He wants to be president. They are dancing hallelujah in Bangabon County with a meaningless convention. Why this citizen of ours is being terrorized, brutalized, humiliated, and now there he lies in pain and agony. And our hospitals are death camp. What's going to happen to this young man? Only God knows. Are we helpless as a people? Are our leaders helpless? Do they not have the fortitude? Doesn't evil provoke them to action? This is pure evil. Right before our eyes. Captures on videos. Pictures all over the place. Picked up by the U.S. government cameras. This act was perpetrated in the vicinity of the United Nations, the United States Embassy. And if you have had a serious opposition or a serious group of citizens, they will be in the street to demand answers, and that they will get answers before they leave the streets. I mean, come on, man. What is this? Have we not heard enough from Prince Johnson? Have we not heard enough from Charles Taylor? Have we not heard enough from Ellen Johnson Sullivan? A George Weah? A Koji? A McGill? A Tua? These guys considering themselves to be natives and sons and daughters of the soil, they are sitting there and this thing is happening. And they think Musa Dean is going to do anything? Musa Dean? When was the last time he conducted any investigation that held anybody accountable for evil in our country? When? And these people are just calling for investigation. It is a waste of time to call for an investigation from the perpetrator of the very act. This is the weird government's doing through a talks and auxiliary group called CDC COP upon the instruction of the mayor of Monrovia, Jefferson Koji, who is the leader of CDCU wing, who is a confidant of the president. This is their usual tactic. And you want an investigation from the doer of the act? People are out of their mind. They are dreaming here. They are asking for answers where there are no answers. Let me give you some history. I am a student of history. I am a lover of politics, but I've chosen to be in the media because I know when politics goes wrong, a country goes into chaos and arches. I've seen it. So unlike Liberian political leaders, Liberian human rights leaders, Liberian student leaders, Liberian citizens, Liberian people, unlike us, when something of serious consequences happen, other nationals in other countries stand up for good. They stand up against evil. They stand up against dictatorship. They stand up against terror. They stand up for their citizens. They stand up for their country. They stand up for what is right. They stand up to demand accountability. They stand up to demand respect. They stand up to register that we are a people, civilized people, and we will not condone evil. But in Liberia, we condone evil. We condone terror. We condone heartlessness. We condone corruption. And we live with it as it's okay. Who are we? Who are our leaders? Who are we as the citizens? Do we have human rights leaders? Well, I mean, come on. I am tired of the empty statements. I'm tired of the condemnations. I'm tired of all of those things. Because we've been down the road and we have not gotten justice. There has not been accountability. Today, Liberia remains the only country in West Africa, and I may argue in the world, that has not held accountable perpetrators of a mindless civil war that took away 250,000 of its citizens. Is that not enough? Sierra Leone next door held accountable the likes of Fola Senghor. The people of Rwanda held accountable the perpetrators of the genocide. Those who carry on the Holocaust are being held accountable today. Who are we? Prince Johnson is a senator, the man who murdered a sitting president on camera, and CDC rose with him. So unlike us, the people of Egypt, you heard about the Arab Spring, folks. You heard about the Arab Spring. And if you don't know, let me read something to you. On December 17, 2010, a young Tunisian who sold vegetables from a barrel set himself afire to protest against police harassment. Mohamed Bouazizi died on January the 4th, 2011, but not before his gesture went viral, sparking protests against the cost of living and the country authoritarian president Ben Ali. Ben Ali's 23-year rule ended 10 days later when he fled to Saudi Arabia, becoming the first leader of an Arab nation to be pushed out by popular protest. The protest inspired a wave of revolt against the Arab world as people rose up to protest against authoritarianism, corruption, and poverty. Don't we have poverty in Liberia? Don't we have corruption in Liberia? Don't we have police meting violence against peaceful citizens in Liberia? This young man, Mohamed Bouazizi, who was selling vegetables in Tunisia, was being harassed by a corrupt police officer. He was frustrated and set himself ablaze. That provoked the people of Tunisia to anger, and they got in the street demanding accountability. And when they did that, Ben Ali of that country, who was in power for 23 years, he saw the anger of the people. They stood up for their citizen. They stood up for the brother. They stood up for one of their kind who went through excruciating pain, out of frustration. They stood up for him. And that dictator of that country, that tyrant, was kicked out of power by the citizens because they saw pure evil. You say, what? The terror, the suppression, the corruption is not enough? You terrorize a peaceful and defenseless citizen, his young man selling vegetables. A police officer would do that. That child, that young man couldn't take it anymore. So he set himself ablaze. That was enough for the citizen to say, whoa, we can't wait before another person set themselves on fire. We will demand answers and accountability. And they did that. This is a young man in Liberia. What's his name? Achi Pompon. Set himself on fire because of the same frustration. That man today, he's not the man. Achi Pompon. Achi Pompon is in agony today. The government of Liberia did not go to his aid. Even seditions were laughing at him. Some citizens were laughing at him. He didn't do that when he was getting paid. It's because he was not getting paid. He was getting frustrated. And he took extreme measures to register his dissent. This government did not go to Achi Pompon's aid. Compare that to what happened in Tunisia. Who are we as a people? After that, on January the 25th, 2011, thousands of Egyptians marched in Cairo, Alexandria, and other cities, demanding the departure of President Hosni Mubarak, who had been in power for 30 years and subjected the people of Egypt to suppression, terror, corruption, and all sort of things that the people couldn't take. In Liberia, nothing. So on February 11, as more than 1 million people took to the street, Mubarak resigned and handed control to the military because he couldn't stand the people's power. The people saw terror. They had enough. And they had to stand up. They got in the street and protested peacefully. In Liberia, citizens see their own citizen being brutalized and humiliated under an instruction from the government, and they do nothing. On February 15, 2011, The Libyan police forced to break up a sit-in action against the government of Libya in the second city called Benghazi. So when that thing happened, first in Tunisia and then in Egypt, some citizens of Libya, in solidarity with what was happening in the other Arab nations, decided to do a sit-in action. And the police of Libya, upon the instruction of the Libyan government, went against the people and terrorized the people. In fact, Muammar Gaddafi, the country's leader, pledged to hunt down the rats opposing him. Gaddafi said those protesting in solidarity with the Arab boys, their Arab friends, brothers and sisters in Egypt and Tunisia, he considered them as rats and that were trying to oppose his government. And so he made a statement that they should take down or hunt down, that's the word he used, exact word, hunt down the rats opposing my government. So they started going after people. What happened? When Gaddafi did that, in frustration, Libyans couldn't take it. There became an uprising that turned into a civil war. France, British, and the American air forces intervened against Gaddafi. And on October the 20th, 2011, Gaddafi was captured and killed in his own region of Sieh by rebels. Fast forward, February 27, 2012, Ali Abdullah Saleh, who ruled Yemen for 23 years, handed over power to his deputy after protest. The Arab world's poorest country, fellow citizens, is Yemen. That country descended into violence following a protest. This guy was in power for so many years, and the people could not take that. The corruption, the economic hardship in the country was so much that the citizens could not take it. And so they protested until he left power. And of recent, in Sri Lanka, President Rajapaksa has been blamed or was been blamed for poor management of the country. The country financial system crumbled and the country went into economic turmoil that forced that about 22 million people to endure shortages of food, fuel, and medicine in the country. The people could not take the economic conditions. So they started protesting, demanding answers, that the guy should face the country or leave. The people of Sri Lanka protested for over 105 days. And the Sri Lanka Supreme President had to flee. People standing up for what is right. Liberians are cowards. Liberians don't stand up for anything. We saw the protest that took place in Nigeria for several days. When was the last time Liberian protested against the government for at least 4 days? Never in our history. I may have gotten that wrong, and let somebody tell me. And we have leaders sitting, their own fellow citizens, just because the in-government people they were friends with yesterday and carry on these kind of acts, and they are acting as though they don't have the power in them to stand up for what is right. These guys are stealing the country money. They are amassing wealth all over the place. That is not enough. They are beating people who are just telling them face the country. children are now bringing guns against you. They are protesting peacefully. The very peaceful protest that you used throughout the time you were in your political wilderness as an opposition political party. The CDC did that. The United Party did not counter-protest. You are printing t-shirts to counter-protest. And this is all we get. We are demanding justice for young comrade Christopher Water Sisulu Sivili. We need justice for this young man. Enough is enough. So, folks, who are we? What is going to come out of this? Are we going to get any of our political leaders to stand up, saying the citizen cannot stand up? If I were in Liberia as an opposition leader, even if I would be the only one to protest for this, against this act of evil, I would do it. Especially when this is documented. Political leaders, opposition political leaders are not strategic. Look at this political giving. If you watch the video, you shed tears. You get angry. The people of Tunisia saw that this young man said inside a place, it was crushing pain for them, and they stood up. Food shortages in Sri Lanka, the people stood up. Terror, corruption, dictatorship in Egypt, the people stood up. Violence against citizens in Libya, the people stood up. But in our dear country, Liberia, how many citizens have not died under mysterious circumstances, under the watchful eyes of this full-blooded president and this so-called party called CDC? And CDC is only good at using intimidation tactics. All the tactics they've been able to apply just for their own benefit. And their benefit only. That's what the CDC does. I mean, this CDC tactic now is, chilling with Prince Johnson for political votes or votes. That is what it's doing. If CDC is ready for accountability, can the CDC use this very tactics? If it is actually in the interest of the people to embarrass Ellen Johnson Sirleaf? Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, who admittance is that our government was corrupt. That corruption became a vampire. CDC cannot audit Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. It cannot use a tactic. If I were the CDC, we would embarrass Ellen Johnson Sirleaf for the massive corruption that went on in our government. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, who helped to bring war in our country. And that is why I don't have respect for those people that gave the Nobel Peace Prize. They insulted us as a people of the country and gave Ellen Johnson Sirleaf Nobel Peace Prize. She does not deserve it. CDC government, if it believes in tactics, write that particular institution and demand that as an insult to the people of Liberia for you to give Ellen Johnson Sirleaf a Nobel Peace Prize after she brought war, devastated the executive mansion, and she will not even renovate it. The CDC is trying to renovate that. But Joshua's tactic is to roll with Ellen Johnson Sirleaf because Ellen Johnson Sirleaf gave it. Why they can't use a tactic that will embarrass the woman? And even her sons who stole, especially the one who bankrupted no car. Where is that tactics? To embarrass the woman called Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. Where is the tactics that the CDC can use against Prince Johnson to hold him accountable when it comes to war and economic crimes in Liberia? Can the CDC use a tactic and strike a deal with either the U.S. government and any other foreign power, world power, to arrest this Prince Johnson and take him somewhere and lock him up for the violence he perpetrated in our country? But the CDC tactics is to roll with Prince Johnson in Nimba for votes. CDC does not care about you, does not care about our country. CDC cares about power and the wealth that power provides. And Joshua is balling and releasing music all the time. He just released a not meaningless song while this country is in peril economically, while poverty is on the faces of Liberians. And this guy is so myopic to the point that on the nation's Independence Day, when our nation should have been celebrated for surviving all the horrors from the hands of the lives of Prince Johnson and Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, Joshua is releasing his son, and he actually intended for the citizens of Liberia to be playing his music on our Independence Day. When we should be celebrating our country, we needed to celebrate a Joshua. He released it on the eve of the nation's Independence Day. Seditionists, I'm not sure they are even playing that nonsense. You are expecting an investigation from the CDC government for what they did to this young man? You are wasting your time. Stop wasting people's time here. Some of you worship political leaders. Where are your political leaders? I'm sure you are mad. I'm sure you are angry. Is your political leader angry? Are they doing anything other than releasing empty statements? We condemn, we condemn. How many times are you ever going to condemn without taking action? The CDC government is not of any help to our country. Terrorizing people in the name of protecting the peace. What peace are you protecting? The real protectors of the peace that the citizens who have decided that when we endure this suffering, we endure this poverty, they are the one protecting the peace. If Liberians were people who could stand up for something, if they get in the street for just 2-3 weeks, the government would be gone for this behavior being exhibited by this government. But tell Liberians, even in the US, and call for protest. I understand President Weah is being invited by the US president to come to the African summit. Will Liberians show up in mass? They will not. They will not show up. They will even laugh at people who will go to protest. But then they welcome the news of other countries' citizens standing up for themselves and standing up for their country, standing up against evil. They celebrate that. They recite that. They read it. But this is what you get. And President Weah's son he released is talking about brotherhood. That's the essence of the song, brotherhood. This is a brother upon the instruction of Jefferson Koji, who has been brutalized. And you're telling us in your son about brotherhood? So where is the brotherhood that you are preaching when you are using your auxiliary group, CDC, COP, brutalizing a citizen? Where is the brotherhood? See the pictures of these people. The young men, the CDC auxiliary group, upon the instruction of Jefferson Koji, as stated by the COP chairperson. Look at them. There is Sisuli right there. They beat them, they brutalize them. Is this the brotherhood? You brutalize your brothers in this way? And President, we are singing a song about brotherhood? Is this brotherhood? Is this how you treat your brother? You see these images? These images will provoke the people of Liberia to stand up against evil for once, but they will not. This is enough for the political leader, the opposition political leaders, to stand up for at least a single party in Liberia to stand up and protest. Even it will be one person to protest. Bwaka is too big to protest. Commies is too big to protest. Mo Ali, all their political leaders, the political party leaders, they are too big to protest. And when the students are protesting, They can't even stand up for them. This is sad. This is painful. So this is the brotherhood, and he will not say anything. Nothing he's going to say. I listened to one CDC intelligentsia elite talking about the president does not have to speak on anything. The justice minister is speaking. Oh, what a bluff. When we have crisis in this country called America, Joe Biden appointed a COVID czar. He even put a committee together to fight coronavirus. Yet he was briefing the citizen on a weekly basis. Even though the president had assigned people to fight COVID on behalf of America and protect the citizens, yet the president was always speaking, was always giving updates. When something this serious is happening, President Weah will not speak. His surrogates will justify sheer nonsense. I will take a break and I will open the phone lines for you to speak. I will open the phone lines for you to speak. And people are telling me I should come to Liberia to protest. I will come to Liberia. I want to be the next person to be beaten by the CDC. I want to be the next person to be brutalized by the CDC when I come to Monrovia, by their talks. I want to be the next person Jefferson Koji gives instruction to be brutalized. I want to be that next person. Do you think I'm a coward? Yes, I want to protest. What is wrong with protest? Didn't the CDC protest? When they protested at the U.S. Embassy, did anybody go against them to stone them and counter-protest? Of course not. No one did that. I don't want to respond to people's comments. I've said enough. I will take a short break. When I come back, I will be taking your calls. The number to call is in the student text below. But let me display the number on the screen for you. Let me display the number on the screen for you to call. I want people to call and let me hear you out here. I am in agony. I am mad like hell. I am frustrated. My heart bleeds. Went on this young man page. I was looking at the pictures. Tears set in my eyes. I was listening to Levy Thompson was crying. Tear rolling down her cheeks. Her eyes. And I couldn't stand it. I have to leave. It was very painful to watch. This is the number to call. I'm taking a short break. When I come back, I will be taking your phone calls. So please start placing your calls today. I want to hear from you. What do you make of this? What do you make of this? Is this not enough already? This not enough already. A short break, and I will be right back to take your calls.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jah.
So I'm back with you, and thanks for staying with me here. I see that folks are here to participate in the discussion. Let me...
All participants are off hold.
All right. So Let me bring in Anthony Diggs, phone number ending in 6149. Your turn to speak. Let us hear you.
Yeah, man. I'm watching your show, and you know, I'm definitely pissed on what's going on in Liberia because a lot of kids, a lot of people, not even
All participants are on hold.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay. So you know, I'm not too happy with a lot of people in Liberia going missing, and there's nothing being done about it. And it's becoming normalized in our country where you can see somebody all of a sudden they go missing, and there's nothing being done about it. And I don't think that's fair. And also, when you look at the overall totality of what's going on in our country with the unemployment rate over 75%, people graduate from LU to Marie and they have no jobs. There's nothing for the youth to do. Or you have these guys, these big ministers riding big cars and stuff, and then these kids don't have quality education. We're not paying the teachers how much they need to be paid. And you know, I don't subscribe to those things. And I feel like as Liberians, we all need to come together and put our hand in building our country. Our youth should not be on the street smoking opium, doing drugs. And it's not like most of them want to do those things because they have nothing to do. They have no job. There's no foreign investors coming in Liberia at this point. You go try to send things at Freeport. It's difficult to get through that Freeport. It's almost like a trap. Nothing can come in the country that easily. We got all these youth with talent. Some of these children should be graduating from college, going abroad, studying, acquiring knowledge, and bringing it back to our country. How is it that country like Sierra Leone, Guinea, Ivory Coast, Rwanda can go through civil war, go through conflict, go through all these things and still bounce back? And we just celebrated 175 years. What do we have to show for as a country? What do we really have to show for as a country? We passed dual citizenship, but yet people that got knowledge from abroad cannot hold seats that can empower youth. I feel like we've been to the future, and we can come back and develop our country.
Thank you.
We can come back and develop our country. And you know, I thank you for the show that you're doing to give us voice for us to speak. But it's one thing to speak, but we gotta be action oriented.
I couldn't agree with you more.
We want to be action oriented. When we come in December to enjoy the weather, we want programs where we can go and contribute money. Where we can go and contribute and say, here's the agenda. Here's what we want to accomplish for 2023. Not just come over there, dream later, and then come back to the States or go back to Europe. We want to see our country improve.
Thank you,
we
brother.
Want to compete with the world. But thank you, man. You know, I don't want to be on there.
Yeah, thank you. Let me bring in another person. Thanks for your participation there. Let me bring in Brooks. Brooks, is your turn. Phone number ending in 4689. You have a minute. Go ahead.
Hey, brother. Yeah, this is Mr. Houston Brooks calling from Honolulu, Hawaii. And watching your show this morning really brought sorrow to my heart. You know, so quickly, the only thing I can say regarding this situation in Liberia on 26 is that the Liberian, Liberia itself could be a case for clinical psychology. You know, these people, what is there to investigate? The students themselves have posted on Facebook who ordered them to carry out this act. So what we need to see is what the government is going to do in response to everything that has been exposed. And the Liberian opposition do not have to respond. It would take an act of civil disobedience to bring this government to its knees. But the masses cannot act because if they don't have no leaders, and the opposition in Liberia is disappointing, they are in disarray, they have no spine, and me, I have a very gloomy picture. I don't think there will be anything to come out of this. It's going to just go into the honors of cases like Princess Cooper and everybody else. Thank you for the show. Thank you for your analysis. And if there's anything I can do personally to contribute, if you put it on your website, what we need to do to get some money, some help to this student, you know, in his condition. And I would like to participate and be part of that.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay.
All
Yeah,
right.
thank you too, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's bring in Broplat. Broplat phone number ending in 1191. Go ahead.
Yeah, but kid, thank you very much.
Don't be listening to the Facebook anymore. Don't listen to it. Turn it off and listen to the phone. Go ahead.
Yeah, brother, say thank you.
Mhm.
I'm Christopher Broplat calling you from Pennsylvania. Look, my brother, yesterday I shed tears and I cried for my sons and daughters. My late brother, my nephew, he was brutalized by Jefferson coaching. And I want to say this to Josh Emmanuel Weir. And I tend to be corrected. It is only if John Weir is a crewman. A crewman will not sit there and let things and let it go on under his watchful eye and don't take action. People are in his government, tarnishing him, then they bring opposition. Peaceful students, well-educated students, put paper and pen together to present the U.S. Embassy. Then you take your point to go and kill them. Know how to treat them as workers. Come on, like what Prince Johnson did to Farmer Kanye do. Go, John Weir. Enough is enough. Where is the council of churches? Michael Francis gone. Bishop Dixon gone. And you need them. Nobody's figuring out. Our girls are being raped. Babies are being raped. So we have to take yourself there. Here. Have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I can sense the frustration and the pain and agony from his voice. Thank you. Well said, Dad. The next person to speak here would be 0054. 0054, your turn to speak. You have a minute. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yep, go ahead. Let us hear you, please.
Yeah, this is Environmental Man. This is just the starting of 2023 after the election. I've been telling people all around that even at one person vote for Joe at 2023, the regular election where people want to join the street. This is just the start. Liberian people have to stand. The reason is we don't really get like opposition in our country. You know, situation like this is happening, and we say now we just look at it like doing people state or that everything is going on. It's not actually going down. Our people suffering, the country is not going on. And the July 24th celebration was on atmosphere, and the people are all the way to Mama Point to the American embassy. You see, so this is going on. We're just sitting, people just sitting and talking. Everything is not going on down. This is just the start of 2023. 2023 after the election, CDC already planned what next step they will take. Even if 2% or 3% go for Jawea, they will go on with the same thing. They already get a whole clique set together what they will do after the election. So we need to open our mind. We need to continue calling the American embassy. We need to continue calling another ambassador, flag out all the information on the internet so that people will see what is going on. And certain like talk shows, this and that, we have to also report them because certain information that they be sharing, our people listen to it, it can actually go down. Like somebody sitting and always saying, hey, this happened, Eddie Johnson said this time, this happened the other person time. But the government that will get in power refused to audit former president and the cabinet members. So many kidding going on. President, we can never hear president sitting on air addressing this type of issue when Zuma from bombing from Banga said that our July 26th, we don't need rice, we don't need money, AK-47 will be better money rice. They don't even take 24 hours, they arrested that guy will be on bar. And people that take brutal action like this against young guys who are protesting President we have to do writing, instinct, hospitals, people that did it act, They didn't show in their picture. They were recording everything. They were sitting, the justice minister, the police director, saying that 624 hours before the camera was first released, Liberia is going to the west. We have to stand. Our people that are there, we really need to talk to them. If we can't do anything, you get people in Liberia, you have to signal after 2023 election because Liberia will still be chaotic.
Thank you.
This is simply happen in Rwanda because talk show hosts sitting and reported fake information saying that the president has to address issues like this going on. They are in America. Donald Trump needs to come up and address the people. Current president always come up and address the people about COVID cases. You get director who going through everything, but president needs to talk. Everything's going on. We never hear one the president we are talking. This is very painful. We need to stop this. And we in America, if we are coming, we need to come on straight. We not just have to sit and just be talking on show, talking on phone. We need to take action so that they will know that we see us. Thank you very much for accepting me and for allowing me for me to get my input.
Thank you so much for calling. I appreciate you. The next person to speak here is Louis, Benita Louis. That's why it says here 9459, last phone numbers. Please speak, please.
Yeah, hi, Ansony.
Yeah.
Yeah, my name is Tyler Lewis, actually.
Okay.
So I'm just calling to appreciate you for highlighting this thing. And, you know, it is concerning. And, you know, I watched this video live in fact on Twitter. And, I mean, this was just something that reminded us all about, you know, the war days in our country. And you know, just like the brother from Pennsylvania was saying, you know, where are the political leaders in all of this? You know, where is Liberian Council of Churches? You know, the Muslim Council, the Association of Evangelicals of Liberia. Now, where is the Federation of Liberian Youth linked to? The Women's League. Where is that? Is Samuel Nelson saying the guy from the university, the president, about you know, his students? What about the other, you know, political entities, parties, you know, at the government school that is seen? What are they doing? Okay. Then of course we want to ask about the CCC, the Concerned Christian Community. You know, this is actually, you know, concerning, and we have to do something as a nation, and everything is just going to be, you know, the start of just happen. What is going to happen in 2023? Okay, at which time other opposition political parties is campaigning and criticizing the government. I mean, are we going to see more of this? Where could be in dying? You know, if they tell you to just go and disrupt, you know, other political parties campaign and all of that and beat them up because they're criticizing, you know, the leaders. So, you know, I'm always asking, where are the progressives, you know, that used to talk about these things? The Nelson Sieh, Johnson Guecolo, you know, where are they? Even the guy Henry Fowler at Foreign Ministry, who was one, you know, associated with the Unity Party. What are they saying about this? So, I mean, I want to thank you, and I think we have to do some affirmation.
Thank you.
Our country is going to be sent into, you know, be a chaos. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you. Let me take my last caller here for the day. Phone number ending in 2247. Your name, please.
Yeah, I'm Grace Coon. I'm a Liberian calling from Texas.
All right. Let us hear you, please.
Yeah, I say I'm Grace Coon. I'm a Liberian calling from Texas forward.
Yeah, whatever you're listening to, call it off and listen just to the phone so we can hear you well.
Okay. Yeah, I want to say thank you to you. Yeah, I want to say thank you. Thank you so much for the program. This is my first time connecting. But today is one of my sad days. And when I saw the video, I began to cry. I was so sorrowful. But Liberians can gallop like they go beat their own brother. All Liberians brother can beat their own brother like this. And police was sitting and watching. The Liberian boys, young boys beating their own brother, their own blood, knowing another country where England is. This is sad. This is sad. There's so many sad things going on in Liberia. But this is one of the worst I've seen so far. The Liberians were scared their own brother and want to beat him to death. It's so sad. It's so sad. It's so and the woman of God has caused. I release curses on Joshua, God. I release curses upon Joshua. Joshua is the one gets on and destroying lives in our country. Innocent lives. People protest everywhere. Where is the crowd to protest and they want to kill somebody? Where is this wickedness going on in Nigeria? I release curses. I say, woman of God, release curses on Joshua. Joshua, the blood of the innocent people that they share on his garment. Joshua will pay for every drop. I release curses upon Joshua, upon his generation, his children. That the blood of the innocent will rest upon Joshua. The wickedness Joshua is doing according when he gets up. I release the blood of Jesus against it. I release curses upon Joshua. It will not be well with Joshua. It will not go well with Joshua. And the young man in the hospital, I pray for the mercy of God upon my child. I pray that God will rescue me. I pray he will not die. I pray God, he will go through that child. That he will not die. I ask for the mercy of God upon my child.
Thank you.
Rescue that side of God.
Thank you, woman of God. Thank you. Woman of God, thank you. Thank you. It's okay.
In Jesus' name.
Woman of God, thank you. Thank you. I hear you. Thank you and thank you. Let me take another call here. We will take this call from Tavina Cole. Let us hear you, please. Tavina Cole, go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, hello, Ms. Cole. You are loud and clear. Let us hear you, please.
Very quick evening, Mr. Sieh. This is Tavina Cole calling from Texas. Calling to add my voice to the many voices out there criticizing this act of violence. It's such a reminder of the war and so many things, the trauma that we went through. Now, fast forward, I noticed that the government also issued a statement criticizing the act and calling for investigation. Why it is true, it's a good thing or somehow good thing. I think we need speedy action. The moment that video came out, it was the opportunity for the government to arrest everybody in that video, including the police officer who failed to carry out his duty to the state to protect. Arrest everybody, put them behind bars while the investigation is ongoing. You cannot have these people who committed these acts. The evidence is there. You have the source of truth. It's right there before your face. And they're writing all on social media. They're taunting people. They're happy about what they did, unapologetic, and you say ongoing investigation. Part of the ongoing investigation is the duty to be behind bars. And I'll say this in closing. So the opposition who are struggling for power and position and playing all this power play, if this does not give you the opportunity to reunite and see the bigger picture and get this hooligan of a government out of Liberia and move forward, then nothing else will unite you. So I rest. Thank you.
Thank you, Tavina. Thank you. Let me take this one from Kristen. Kristen, phone number ending in 1642. Let us hear you, please.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead. You are loud and clear.
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Sieh, I was calling based on the protesting and the stuff that's going on in Liberia. I think it's about time Liberians have to realize that the country will not be fixed right away. It's not going to work like that. The protesting is what that led us to war back then in the days, but people don't take this thing as notice. It's not because we are president today that too many violence, all kinds of things going on. Anybody that comes there, when you do the same thing to Joshua, they will do the same thing to you. Telling people they don't listen. There will be no peace. We will not have no president because people love this man too.
You know what I'm saying? I see a group of people are talking about we should not celebrate our independence instead of fixing the country. How? How can you stop Liberia from celebrating our independence? What sense does that make?
You think they're stopping people? I don't see them going and physically stopping people here. Why are you celebrating? They didn't even interrupt the celebration that was ongoing. They went to the U.S. Embassy. The celebration was going on at Certain Pavilion. They didn't go to stop anybody. They not stop anybody from dressing to go to work. No. Listen to me. Listen to me. Did they stop anybody? The only people we saw stopping people from exercising their constitutional right, that's the CDC COP under the instruction of Jefferson Koji, who went purposely to stop other Liberians from exercising their right. It is my right to say I'm celebrating July 26th. Don't you think it's my right?
It's not you that say it's your right to say. It is the right to say you're not celebrating. It's different from you going to the UN embassy and say, "Hey, there's no need for us to celebrate our independence."
That's your right, right?
I mean,
don't you have your right to do so?
I'm not saying that's not a right.
Is that a crime they have committed for them to go and say, "Hey, face the country, no need to celebrate"? Is that a crime?
But let's see how long will they keep asking for the country to be fixed?
Every day we need to ask for the country to be fixed. Every day we need to ask for the country to be fixed. Don't you think that makes sense to ask that the country be fixed every day?
So that's why the country should not celebrate a birthday.
Did not stop anybody. Did they stop anybody from celebrating the Independence Day?
Can I ask you, Mr. Sieh, when Henry was in power, did they stop people from celebrating the country independence?
People demanded that there was no name for Independence Day celebration.
Oh no, Henry.
How does that matter now? So because let me agree with you, it didn't happen to Ellen, so it shouldn't happen. Is that the standard now? Just because Ellington I did not say do fix the country and no need for protest. So that right that I have to say what I want to say is automatically taken away because I didn't exercise that right. So one chooses when they exercise their right and when not to. Don't you think so?
I agree with you on that point. I agree with you. But this is a whole country. When you come in up and say, do not celebrate, what about the other people that want to celebrate? We don't care about how you feel. Every country has a problem. Everything, you think America is...
So why are you having problem with people expressing how they feel? Why are you having problem with them expressing how they feel? There are some Liberians that decided that we will celebrate. Our platform here, Focus on Liberia, will cover the entire event. Did you not see it? We covered the entire event. We sat our reporter there. From the BTC all the way to the Centennial Pavilion. We covered it. Liberian was dressed. They were dancing. The event went on. The children did not disturb the event. So what are you talking about here?
Okay. But the thing, when America is celebrating her birthday, you used to people in the street and say, "Oh, nobody." They go to the warehouse and say, "Hey, there's no need to celebrate the birthday of America."
Do you know that? Were you at the warehouse to know that no one was there to protest? I have gone to the warehouse several times, and every time I went, I saw people protesting. I have no doubt that on July 4th, people were there protesting because that is the history of the U.S. People at that particular warehouse nearly every day to protest. You don't know that for a fact. You're just saying it. You're assuming, isn't it?
Okay, Mr. Sieh, let me say this to my people.
Please conclude. I have to go. Please conclude. So what is your point here? What is your point? So make your point quickly.
My point is too much of protest will lead to violence. That's my point. Because when you read the history of Liberia,
even if the protest is peaceful, it will lead to violence.
You always say the protest people when you crossing somebody's mind, you crossing the president mind, you crossing the president. How do you, when you intimidating people, you say peaceful? That's why people always use that word peaceful. It's not.
So when somebody insult the president mind, if you are angry, sue the person. Don't stop the person, from protesting. Why can't you just sue the person if you think that is wrong? Presidents are insulted nearly every day in every country. It's common. We saw that here in the U.S. Trump was being insulted all the time. Anyway, I have to go. Thanks for your participation. You may conclude, please.
Yes, what I want to say is, Liberians, if you are listening around the world, Liberia is the only country we have. When Judge Weah leaves, there will be another person that come in. Whatever you do, remember the Bible says what goes around comes around. We will continue to be in the same circle and doing the same thing over and over.
So you believe that what goes around comes around? Have you forgotten that CDC were protesting and there was no counter-protest? So why are they counter-protesting now when no one counter-protested against them?
Was killed? Are you forgetting that CDC? Because you always say this thing, one protest from CDC, you're still keeping on it. Are you forgetting that sedition was killed? Are you forgetting about 5 or 6 of them were killed?
So that is why sedition should be the one who allow protests and wouldn't brutalize people for protesting. I have to take leave of you, my friend. I have to take leave of you. I have to take leave of you. I don't know what you're up to here. I don't understand your logic that peaceful protest, all right, is causing violence and takes a country to war. I don't know that to be true. People protesting in America, yeah, every day, peaceful protest. We saw that with George Floyd. We saw that in Minnesota, yeah, so many times. In other places, America did not go to war, my friend. So I don't know what you're talking about. Thank you, and thank you for participating. We have to leave it there. And thank you, my good friend. So, folks, this is how we will come to the end of yet another edition of the Hour of Politics. Everybody will always see it differently. Everyone will see it differently. And thank you for participating. And this is how I will conclude. And may I take a brief here, then I will conclude. All right. So, folks, this is how I will close the broadcast. The violence meted against Christopher Walter Sisulu Vesely was unwarranted. He did not provoke the CDC government to be treated the way he got brutalized. All this student and all the students from the Student Unification Party have said, fix the country. The words "fix the country" does not constitute violence. It is an expression of one's free speech. The right to speak on issues of national concern. These children, these students were denied the right to their own campus to gather and assemble and protest peacefully. They printed t-shirts. I believe they had placards. And that's all they had. And all they wanted to say was that we don't feel the need for a July 26th celebration when hospitals are in bad shape, when corruption is all over the place, when poverty is in the land. And that is their opinion. Their protest was not intended to disrupt the celebration. Their protest was not intended to stop the independence celebration of Liberia. They just wanted to say that there is no need, given the conditions, given the hardship, given the poverty, and that what is important now is to fix the country. When the country is fixed, we'll have peace. When there are jobs, we'll have peace. When the schools are in good condition, we will have peace. When teachers and all of civil servants are taking peace, we will have peace. We will have peace. When the prices of basic commodities are affordable for poor citizens, we will have peace when auditors are killed mysteriously and people are held accountable. We will have peace when citizens are suffering and the government is assuring them and guaranteeing that they are doing something about the conditions they are facing, then we will have peace. We'll have peace when the country is being governed. We'll have peace when we have reliable electricity. We'll have peace when we have safe drinking water. We'll have peace when the security forces are protecting the citizens. We'll have peace when young people who are living on drugs are taken off drugs and rehabilitated and sent back into the community to contribute positively. We'll have peace when the governments are doing everything to provide jobs for young people. So let us focus on fixing the country. And that this celebration is not going to change anything. Maybe the money we're using for the celebration can be used for something else. Then we will have peace. That is all they had intended to say. And they were only in white t-shirts to say that. And the CDC that protested so many times in front of that very U.S. embassy that went on hunger strike, sleeping in the streets right before the embassy. No one counter-protested them. No one threw stones at them. They did that as a registration of their dissent and the satisfaction of the way the country was being governed under Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. And we condemn violence that was meted against the CDC by security forces under the hands of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. But this is the very Ellen Johnson Sirleaf George Weah is in bed with. What an irony. And that is all the students were saying. And then this is the price that this student has to pay. And even as we speak, the government of Liberia is yet, the president of Liberia is yet to go to this young man's aid. Just as he would not intervene when Achin Popon set himself on fire. They laugh at him. They are laughing today. They are happy that this has happened. They are happy that these children will not have the courage anymore to protest against conditions that they are facing in the country because they have put into play a wicked and evil deterrent. This is governance. And why we see this terror, this pure evil, this heartlessness, this mindlessness, this brainlessness, this pure evil in broad day. The police is yet to effect any arrest up to the time I came live. But when people are protesting against the government, they are arrested in no time. But yet, as citizens, CDC surrogates, loyalists, and auxiliary members that have mental violence caught on camera, on videos, pictures everywhere, they are not arrested yet. Statement came from the chairman of CDC COP. He's not being arrested yet. When Mo Ali released a statement, they were calling him. When Manipaka Dumwe released a statement, he was arrested. This is the very CDC that chased Martin Colley out of Liberia. This is the very CDC it has been accused of Justina Taylor. This is the very CDC we saw on cameras this time. The evidence all over the place. And people are calling for investigation. Arrest the perpetrators that we saw on cameras, and you can do your investigation. And the president released a song about brotherhood. This is the display of brotherhood. This is how he shows that brotherhood he preached in that meaningless song that does not offer any opportunity for any citizen other than to celebrate himself on Liberia's Independence Day. He wanted to be celebrated. Being president is not enough for him. I have to leave you by saying this is something that every Liberian should stand up for. This is something that every Liberian should stand up for. In Sri Lanka, the protests we saw recently, the people of Sri Lanka use Facebook, they use TikTok, they use Twitter. I would have loved to see every Liberian who opposed their act of violence to change their profile picture to this young man picture. But they will not do it. Liberians were changing their profile picture to the flag of Ukraine, to the flag of France, and many other countries, in solidarity with those countries. But here is their fellow citizen. A single one, just few of them change their profile picture. Few of them are sharing the video. Few of them are posting about it. We demand justice for Christopher Sisuli. We demand justice for this young man. We need justice right now. And I urge you to change your profile picture to symbolically identify with him. Go on our Facebook page, Focus on Liberia Facebook page. Take this particular poster right here. Put it on your Facebook page. Let the world see that Liberia at least is angry that one of its citizens has been brutalized by loyalists of the government that should be serving them. Do that at least. That is what was done in Sri Lanka. And a government was held accountable for the wickedness, for the mismanagement and corruption and bad governance in that country. Do that at least for Christ's sake. Let the whole world see that a country at least is standing up for one of its own. We have not stood up enough for the 250,000 that died. We did not stand up for Emmanuel Savage when he was brutalized by security forces close to the president. We did not stand up for him. We did not stand up for the EPS guy who they killed and they said he had killed himself. We did not stand up for the 3 missing boys. It's a mystery today. We did not stand up for Princess Cooper. We did not stand up for Abba Peters. We did not stand up for George Fambutu. We did not stand up for Nyinswa. When will we ever and ever stand up against evil when we see it? Ask a people, when? Even just a post that I stand with Sisuli. Look for this image and Focus on Liberia page. Put it on your Facebook page. At least do something. Goes to my personal YouTube channel. The video that I play is also there. Share it everywhere. Let the world see their act of violence for what it is. Let the world see it. And that you do not condone it, and that you are against it, and that you want accountability. Do something for once. This nonsense argument that protests bring war is meaningless. Since President Weah came to power, there have been one protest after the other. We have not gone to any war. U.S., there's protests everywhere in the United States. Nearly every day. America has not gone to war. Protests going on in Nigeria. Nigeria has not gone to war. Protests just went on in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka did not go to war. So what are you talking about here? I don't buy this argument. It does not hold. It is upside down. This is a CDC tactic to confuse you, to scare you that protests bring war. When CDC protested for 12 years when they were in opposition, did we go to war? We did not go to war. Protests did not take us to war for 12 years of Ellen Johnson's elite rule. CDC were protesting. How dare the very CDC tell us now that protests will take us to war and that protests will disturb the peace? Did we not have peace during Ellen time and they were protesting? It did not thwart the peace. It will not thwart the peace. It will even guarantee the peace because those in power will be held accountable. Let us use the internet for good and for once and not tear each other down, but use it to stand up for what is pure evil in our land. I have said enough. I have to go now. I'm sorry that your political leaders will not stand for you. I'm sorry that your student leaders will not stand for you. And those who try have been brutalized, and the rest are in fear for their lives. I'm sorry that your human rights leaders will not even file a lawsuit against the government. Our lawyers are sitting down. None of them will do something. Our religious leaders are in a pocket of the government. Our Muslim leaders are also cowards. They will not stand up for justice. Even pastors in our country are corrupt. They can't stand up for anything. And for the officials of the CDC, they dance in corruption. They laugh at the pain and they celebrate wickedness in the land. All because to protect a man in power and hide behind that they are protecting the peace. Nonsense to the highest order, and we should not take it. I am Ansony Sieh. I brought you this edition. I'm closing in this manner because I'm mad like hell. Thank you for watching. The song says we are all Liberians. And that song is taking us home right now. Enjoy the song, We Are All Liberians, for just 1 minute. And maybe that will provoke you to do something about this act of violence. I'm not trying to tell you to go take your arms. Do something. Thank you for watching. Until I see you again, the name is Ansony Sieh, and I'm the host of the Hour of Politics here at Focus on Liberia. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the song, We Are All Indeed Liberians.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home.